I'm Chandana Marthu. I teach at the National University of Ireland at Maynooth. Ireland, like many post-colonial countries, does not have a very widely established network of even university teaching in anthropology. There are only two universities on the island of Ireland, one in the Republic of Ireland where I teach, Maynooth University, and Queen's University in Belfast, and these are the only two that have anthropology departments. The head of my department is Dr. Abdullahi Al-Tom, who is from Darfur, from Sudan, and he is actually hugely involved, has been involved over the years with the justice and equality movement in Darfur, and was very much part of the talks when they were happening, which have of course subsequently broken down. So he's very much an engaged anthropologist who is completely heart and soul working with the Darfur situation. Another colleague, Tom Strong, is one of the founders of ACT UP in Ireland, which is a group that's looking for government accountability around HIV issues. This is a really exciting historical moment in terms of its social progressiveness in Ireland in general. In 2015, there was a referendum on marriage equality which passed with a landslide. So, a lot of places have legalized same-sex marriage, but Ireland is one of the places where actually, all kinds of people, young and old, voted for this, at an individual level. So there's real, popular support for this. Only in May we had a referendum, again a very important one in a very observant Catholic country, on abortion rights. It was basically the repeal of an amendment in the Constitution that was a block in the way of abortion rights, and it too passed with a huge landslide victory. So it's a very interesting moment to be involved in these activities in Ireland. Again, you might know that the Irish Prime Minister is one of the few openly gay politicians in the world, and he's also the son of an immigrant and an Irish citizen. His father is from India, that's really, yeah. Leo Varadkar, he's half Indian and half Irish. So we have, it's a really interesting country to be living and working in, for one thing. As a former Irish president has said, it's a first world country with a third world memory. I mean, it's post-colonial past as one of the countries that was part of the British Empire, that experienced what Mike Davis calls the late Victorian holocausts of famine, that experienced what most former British colonies, including India, where I come from, have experienced, which is the tragedy of partition. They are, in that sense, a very unusual country in Europe. There's no far-right political party, even though, I suppose immigration is as much an issue in Ireland as it is elsewhere. So it's actually a very interesting country in which, I'm sorry to have gone off topic a little bit, but it's a really interesting country in which to be an activist. And many of my colleagues are, very, very involved in these forms of activism. So I'm talking about my university in the Republic of Ireland. Our colleagues in Northern Ireland at the Queen's University in Belfast, have been very involved with peace processes, with just moving things to normalcy in terms of relationship between Protestant and Catholic communities in the north. There's the Center for Irish Studies, which is also headed up by an anthropologist at Queen's. There's a Center for Post-Conflict Resolution, which is also directed by an anthropologist. So all of these people are not only working on these issues as scholars, but also working very, intensely as people, involved in that situation. All Irish high school children have what is known as a transition year, which actually, speaking as a parent, I think is a fantastic, idea. It's a kind of an enforced gap year. So after they do their first big public exam at the age of 16, they have 1 year in which they're not supposed to do, sort of standard conventional education at all. And so what usually happens is that the schools put on different kinds of activities, and just to kind of broaden their horizons. They're not working towards the school living exam syllabus at all in this 1 year. They're supposed to actively stay away from that. And so people do a lot of creative, interesting things. They do a lot of community projects and sort of activist kind of projects, but also I have been approached, for example, in my little town where I live in Ireland, by a transition year teacher who actually was an anthropology student when he was studying in college, and he wanted to do a special module on anthropology for transition year students, and was looking for all of us to kind of get involved, and for that, the one and only anthropology department to come in and do talks and speak about anthropology and provide some basics. So it's episodic in that way, and as I told you, there was once a time that the curriculum developing authorities had consulted us, but there's no regular way for this to be worked into our curriculum. But there's a lot of potential, and there's a lot of potential, especially at the interstices of the educational system, and through its this is actually not interstitial at all. The transition year is very much part and parcel of the school curriculum in Ireland. So there's that space that we can get into. At the undergraduate level, I'm constantly surprised that we have these enormous classes of undergraduates, because there's absolutely, there's very little knowledge of what anthropology consists of. It's a tiny profession, as I said. There are only 2 university departments of anthropology, although there are anthropologists teaching in other departments in other universities. But it's something that's still just trying to make its way. It's something that's still trying to shrug off its association with colonial knowledge, and there is a long distance to traverse. But as I said, it is interesting to me how anthropologists are actually really active in social life in Ireland, and that that message is kind of getting across. I think in the formal curriculum, there isn't anything very directly involved. When we were looking through the subject choices and so on, there wasn't anything which was very clearly, a social studies, a sociology kind of subject choice that he was able to make. But it came in indirectly, even through other disciplines. These questions were sort of discussed in the context of, the curriculum in history, for example. It's just from, this, I think, will take a lot of lobbying and a lot of creation um, for these themes to explicitly feature in the school curriculum, and that has not yet happened. Well, recent developments, as I was telling you, the two recent referenda on marriage equality, on abortion rights, have focused the national conversation on gender and sexuality in a way that's, really, I mean, it's a fantastic time to be living through. You know, I don't feel that way politically about most places in the world, but at the moment in Ireland, it's a very interesting national conversation that has started up. Around race, it should also be a good moment for it, although there isn't a clear national conversation in that way, because Ireland has had an unusual experience of migration into the country. I should clarify that if you're a Protestant national school or a Catholic national school, you do have children from all kinds of religious backgrounds, but nonetheless, there is that ethos in the school. I mean, it's not very evident, I know, but it's still problematic, I think. And I think that if I had to find, the one thing that it should be a priority to change in the Irish educational system, in the state system, that would be it. So I think it's a really good thing that the WCA is taking it up, and I certainly hope that it will help us push this further. Again, in a small country with a small anthropological community, it is perhaps more important to us than almost places where there is an established anthropological profession. It's really important for us to have something that our students can do beyond. It would really amplify the potential opportunities that they'll have. So we are extremely interested in pushing this agenda. But there are a few factors that feed into it, I think. So first of all, it's just that they're curious, and we have a kind of liberal arts education sort of set up in the university. So it makes it possible for them to come into at least the first year classes and to learn what this is about. I suppose our department does do quite a lot of outreach at the admissions level. So when young people are visiting different universities, we all have open days where we sort of talk about the different subjects and what's involved in them. So we usually have a really good talk by an anthropologist, and and some of my colleagues who are particularly gifted public speakers have been called upon quite often to do this. And that seems to get a lot of interest, and that seems to draw a lot of people in, at least initially. And then a lot of them stay. We have quite a big postgraduate program as well, and a large PhD program with about 25 people at various stages, maybe about 50 MA students. So we definitely have a lot of people coming in and then getting interested and getting quite passionate about it and then staying. I think there are also people who come into anthropology because they've been somewhere and they're mad about that place, and which I think it happens everywhere.
Yes,
so,
it's my story.
Yeah. So that often happens to us too, because they've been somewhere, they want to study a subject which will allow them to return and to learn more about the place that they're interested in. And so people know about anthropology that way. But yes, it's something that I feel, we kind of try to find out from our first years about, why are you here?